Cynthia Ng, and this is AWANI Tonight. Total lockdown for Malaysia from 1st of June. And another record high in daily cases today. We take a closer look at protecting our children. That's coming up. Malaysia will go into first phase total lockdown for a total of 14 days beginning June 1st. All sectors are not allowed to operate except for the essential economic and service sectors that will be listed by the National Security Council. The decision was announced in a statement by the Prime Minister's office earlier tonight. It said the decision for a total lockdown was reached after taking into account the latest COVID-19 situation, including today's tally of new cases, which has breached the 8,000 mark. It also stated that if the first phase of this lockdown succeeds in bringing down the daily COVID-19 cases, the government will proceed to the second phase, which is less strict, as it will allow the reopening of several sectors that do not involve a large gathering and adhere to social distancing measures. This second phase lockdown will be carried out for a total of 4 weeks after the end of the first phase. Upon the end of Phase 2, the next step is the third phase, which employs a similar movement control order system like the one that is currently being imposed. However, the decision for each of these phases will be periodically reviewed by the Health Ministry based on the number of daily cases and the capacity of hospitals all over the country. Following the decision to impose a total lockdown, the Ministry of Finance will detail a stimulus package for the people and economic sectors that are affected in the near future. Sarawak, on the other hand, remains with the decision to continue the implementation of the Movement Control Order 3.0 starting tomorrow. State Minister of Tourism, Culture and Arts, Dato' Abdul Karim Rahman Hamzah, said until this evening, no new resolution was discussed by the Sarawak State Disaster Management Committee, citing how Sarawak is different from the peninsula and is not able to close the economic sector. Now, the country once again logged a record high number of COVID-19 infections, breaching the 8,000 mark for the first time since the pandemic began. 8,290 new daily cases were reported today. Almost a quarter of the infections were in Selangor. It is the fourth day in a row that the country registered new daily records. Meanwhile, 61 deaths were reported in the past 24 hours. Malaysia recorded over 1,000 COVID deaths just this month. The country was only predicted to reach the 8,000 mark of new COVID-19 cases in the first week of June under the assumption that SOPs are not complied with. Sarawak is expected to be the first territory in the country to have its population fully vaccinated against COVID-19. That's according to Khairi Jamaluddin, who said that the push was driven by concerns that Sarawak could be forced to hold its election if the emergency is lifted as scheduled on August 1st. He dismissed suggestions that this is a political move to garner support ahead of the Sarawak election.
Should the emergency end on the 1st of August, as it has been announced, then at that point in time, Sarawak, by law, needs to hold its state elections within 60 days. Sarawak needs to call for its elections within 60 days. That is by law. So with that in mind, there needs to be some form of accelerated vaccinations for the state of Sarawak. Now, I don't know if you remember what happened during the Sabah state election. If the state of Sarawak is not fully vaccinated, by the time they have the state elections, then not only the state of Sarawak, but the entire country of Malaysia is at risk of another wave, and we cannot afford that.
Khairi also assured that vaccinations in other states will pick up pace even as the federal government ramps up its vaccine delivery to Sarawak.
Our commitment to the Sarawak state government does not in any way take away from any vaccines that we plan to deliver to the other states. Yeah? And I can give my assurance to the people in Klang Valley that we will also be picking up the pace of vaccinations in Selangor and in KL, especially in Selangor, which is ground zero for COVID infections right now. But I think it's very important for me to raise this point. It is not a political point, but it's a legal requirement. and it's also a public health issue.
Sarawak has been assured that 4.4 million vaccine doses, enough for its 2.2 million adult population, will be delivered by August, with inoculations to be completed the same month. The COVID-19 vaccination program for the retail sector will begin next month. Some 500,000 workers will be involved in the program. Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs Minister Datuk Sri Alexander Nantalinggi said, as economic frontliners, the retail sector was crucial in ensuring the supply of food and daily necessities. He called on all companies under the retail sector to join this vaccination program. They can submit their applications on vaccinecovid.gov.my or contact the ministry. As Malaysia battles a surge in COVID-19 cases, recent statistics revealed a worrying situation involving children. More than 40,000 children have been infected with COVID-19 since the start of the pandemic, out of which 6,290 involve babies below 18 months old. We speak to Dr. Rashid Mustafa Sarwa from UNICEF on ways to protect our children.
Our action today will determine the future outcome of millions of children. So what I would say that we should follow first WHO and Ministry of Health's guidance on safe practicing during the COVID-19. We should provide our children enough opportunity to share their emotions and talk to them. Allow them to talk to their friends, to their peers, provide emotional and psychological supports, closely monitor their health and well-being. We should make our children priority in the family and in the societies.
He says the worrying statistics should be a wake-up call to parents to practice vigilance. He also suggests that it is time to get children vaccinated against COVID-19.
We should also look at vaccinating our children when and how the science tells us and how it's possible. In the meantime, this is a very important that the children continue receiving routine childhood immunization. This will avoid them to receive any other source of infection. We should be a role model. We should show them how we protect ourselves and how they should protect themselves. Wearing masks, social distancing, hand washing, following all SOPs. To show them the empathy, to show them love, be with them and make them a priority so that they understand that, yes, they are the priority in the family, in the society. So they are very important. And that is very, very important as well. So in a many way that we should make children in the center of our attention and action.
The Kelana Jaya LRT line has been fully restored and running as normal following a head-on crash involving two trains on Monday. Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin has since ordered the Transport Ministry and Prasarana to conduct a full investigation into the crash. Meanwhile, Transport Minister Datuk Sri Wee Ka Siong said victims of the train crash are free to take legal action against Prasarana if they desire it. Malaysia, he said, is a democratic country and everyone should have access to the legal system.
Malaysia adalah sebuah negara yang demokratik dan sudah apa juga tindakan yang mengikut lunas undang-undang, maka kita tidak boleh elak, kita akan berdepan. Saya segarkan kepada pihak Prasarana.
On Monday, two trains collided on the LRT Kelana Jaya line at KLCC, injuring over 200 passengers. 6 victims were admitted to intensive care units. We'll take a short break. Stay with us.
Welcome home.
Are you ready?
Welcome back onto international news. India recorded its lowest daily rise in COVID-19 cases in more than a month. The country reported over 186,000 infections in the past 24 hours, its lowest daily rise since April 14. India's official tally of daily infections has been falling in the past few days, offering hope that its second wave is easing. But there are serious concerns that many new infections are not being reported, largely due to a dearth of testing in the countryside. Meanwhile, infections in the South Asia region surpassed 30 million today. The region, India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Bhutan, Nepal, Maldives and Sri Lanka, accounts for 18% of global cases and almost 10% of deaths. Taiwan is moving closer to harsher restrictions after a third consecutive day of record deaths. The island reported 19 fatalities today, while daily new cases are still not decreasing. Taiwan, once regarded to have one of the most successful COVID-19 responses, is now facing its worst outbreak since the pandemic began. Taiwan reported 297 new cases and an additional 258 from a backlog of cases stretching as far as 10 days. In Taiwan's 4-tier COVID-19 alert system, Level 3 mandates mask wearing, social distancing and a limit on gatherings. For the first time in this outbreak, its health minister has flagged a possible move to Level 4, requiring a lockdown. Meanwhile, Japan said it is considering to offer some of its supply of the AstraZeneca vaccine to neighboring Taiwan, which has struggled to secure its own shots. Taiwan has vaccinated only about 1% of its population due to supply shortage, while Japan has secured more than 400 million doses, double what it needs for its adult population. Roughly a month before the start of the Tokyo Olympics, Japan has extended the state of emergency in Tokyo and 8 other prefectures until June 20th. Anti-Olympic sentiment is mounting in Japan as the country battles a fourth wave of COVID infections and a slow inoculation drive. The state of emergency had initially been scheduled to end next Monday, but the surge in COVID-19 cases in the country shows no signs of easing. Japan has seen a record number of COVID-19 patients in critical condition in recent days. Organizers and the International Olympic Committee insisted that the Games will go ahead under strict virus prevention measures and will remain safe and secure. The Tokyo Olympics is set to begin on July 23rd. His memoir, My Story, Justice in the Wilderness, had set tongues wagging when it rolled hot off the press. Tonight on Consider This, we asked former Attorney General Tan Sri Tommy Thomas about his book and the missed opportunities for reform during his time in office. And that is all we have for you on AWANI Tonight. Get the latest news updates on COVID-19 and COVID-19 vaccines from astroawani.com and Astro Awani app. I'm Cynthia Ng. We'll see you next week.